At first, I thought it was just a blackout, one of those routine outages. Nobody ever warns you about, the kind that makes you grumble, check the breakers, and wait for the fridge to start humming again. But then my son's ceiling fan sparked my backyard, started to smoke, and the HOA, well, they blamed me. I'm a retired Army electrician. I know sabotage when I see it. And that night, staring into the kind of darkness that feels alive, I realized someone didn't just cut the power. They picked a fight with the wrong guy. It was a quiet Thursday, nothing unusual. Just me pacing the kitchen, waiting for the microwave to beep when everything died. No warning, no flicker, just dead silence. You don't realize how loud a house is until every machine shuts off. At once, you know what I mean? My name's Paul Landon, 56 years old. Spent half my life troubleshooting field grids in places that make Cedar Ridge Estates look like Disneyland. When something's off with power, I know. And this wasn't some squirrel chewing a wire. This was intentional. I grabbed the flashlight, second drawer next to the stove, always there, stepped out onto the porch. Our HOA neighborhood is supposed to be a shining example, path lights, street lamps, every damn oak tree uplit by HOA decree. But that night, the whole east side of the block was pitch black, like someone just erased us with a Sharpie. My neighbor Marcy was waving her phone light around like a firefly. "You out too?" she called. "Yup." "Any idea what's up?" She shook her head. HOA app says nothing but look across the street. And sure enough, the Johnsons' porch light glowed yellow, their TV flickering behind the curtains. Same with the Harrisons and the Kims. A blackout just for our side. That's not weather. That's targeted. Army instincts kicked in. I laced up my boots, grabbed a voltage tester from the garage, and started walking the perimeter. No storm damage, no tripped breakers, nothing obvious until I hit the back fence. There in the dirt was a fresh trench, still damp cut straight along the easement and right behind the utility box city jurisdiction. Nobody's supposed to touch that except city crews with a permit. But that line ran behind my yard. Marcy's then curved toward the community trail behind a row of homes dead-ending at the HOA clubhouse. I snapped a photo, texted my old buddy Darren, who now does infrastructure for a private contractor. His reply was instant. That trench shouldn't be there. If someone tapped or bypassed, that's illegal. Could cause arcing. Well, I barely slept. At sunrise, I drove straight to the HOA office. That's a brick monstrosity tacked onto the clubhouse white trim. American flag, looks official, but it's just a few folks with too much time on their hands. Tricia, our president, sat behind her desk, always smug, always perfect. We'd tangled before my flagpole, two high shutters, the wrong shade of green, a grill that offended her sense of order. But this wasn't about barbecue grills. This was about safety. I asked, "What work was done behind my house?" She barely looked up. "Any maintenance is fully authorized. You don't need to concern yourself." Oh, I was concerned. My power's out. Circuits are fried, and there's a trench connecting to the utility grid. She slides me a pamphlet. Routine realignment. Future forward Cedar Ridge. I asked about the permit. Of course, she says, two quick eyes darting. Then give me the contractor's name and permit number. That information is internal. I leaned in. Not when it interferes with public utilities. I spent 20 years working field grids for the Army. If you've tampered with municipal infrastructure, that's criminal. Her smile dropped an inch. I suggest you go home, Paul. Power should be back shortly. No need to escalate things. The way she said escalate like it was a threat and customer service wrapping set my teeth on edge. Sure enough, power was back by noon, but everything flickered. Coffee maker dead. HVAC hiccuping, voltage in the garage surging way too high. And then came the letter. Pale yellow envelope, HOA crest, stating I had unauthorized equipment connected which supposedly destabilized the grid. I had 10 days to resolve it or get fined $125 a day. I stood in my kitchen hands, shaking ceiling fan buzzing like an angry hornet, knowing they'd broken my house and now were blaming me. Next morning, the damage was everywhere. Eggs spoiled in the fridge, milk warm, appliances sparking. My house felt less like a home, more like a minefield. Electric companies said no service orders, no permits, nothing in their records for our block. So whoever did this went around the system, straight into the grid. I wrote a full incident report, dropped copies at the HOA, kept one for myself, and gave another to my lawyer. Receptionist didn't even glance up. "You'll hear back in 7 to 10 days, she muttered. Right. By mid-afternoon, two neighbors, Tom and Marcy, texted me. Their microwaves fried routers, dead same yellow violation letters from the HOA. They blamed us for their screw-up. I started to worry. What if someone's medical machine failed overnight? What if a fire started? That evening, I spotted a white van creeping down the back trail. No markings. Two men in coveralls, amateur gear flashlights poking around the fuse box. I filmed from the shadows. "You guys with the city," I called. They froze. "Just maintenance. Show me your permit." "No need, sir. We're contracted." "By who?" No answer, they just took off. I sent that video to Darren with photos of the trench and burned outlets. His reply, "Paul, this is big. Anyone interfering with a tagged city box is committing a federal offense, especially if there's damage. Do not let this go. I wasn't planning on it." The next day, I found an unmarked envelope taped to my front door. "Cease your inquiries, Mr. Landon. The HOA has full legal authority. Further interference may result in legal and financial repercussions. No signature, no letterhead, just a threat." That lit a fire in me. If they were scared enough to threaten me at home, they'd made mistakes. So I documented everything, camera aimed at the trench notes, on every HOA truck, every neighbor's complaint. Digging into the HOA's finances, I found payments to Ridge Systems Maintenance, a shell company with no license, but the same last name as a board member, Karen Rowley. Later that day, my son's ceiling fan popped and smoked, tripping every breaker in the house. I found Ethan crying, the room stinking of burnt plastic. That was my breaking point. I called the Department of Energy used to teach workshops for them, still had a contact, Greg Matz. I sent him everything. Greg's email was short, "Keep documenting everything." That was when I knew it was bigger than me. 12 homes had similar outages in 3 weeks, always along that same trench. When I told folks it was a federal case, they opened up. Tom's wife, Ellen, had every HOA letter filed in a binder. Marcy's insurance wouldn't pay because the damage came from external, unauthorized interference. The path of the trench matched homes that had clashed with the boards, skipping the houses of their friends, ending at the clubhouse, where the generator had just been upgraded. Turned out the HOA had siphoned our power to keep their own lights burning. Criminal. Then came Jordan Tall, mid-30s, military vibe glasses. He'd hacked the HOA admin server before they blocked him. "They're diverting load, prioritizing board homes and buildings," he said, handing me a report full of data enough to prove it. I sent it to Greg. 2 hours later, restricted number, "This is DOE. We're dispatching a team. Keep everything secure. Don't engage the HOA." And just like that, I knew justice was rolling in. But that night, my backyard camera was smashed wires scattered in the mud. Someone had been in my yard. At the HOA meeting, I confronted the board photos invoice as Jordan's grid report. Tricia tried to gavel me down. Karen Rowley glared. But then Tom stood up, then Marcy, then others. Turns out, once one person stands, the silence breaks fast. The meeting turned into an uprising. The board threatened legal action. I told them federal agents might be more interested in their security. They didn't look so smug then. Back home, another envelope. Now I was fined $250 for defamation of board members. I sent everything to Greg, including the crowd's testimony and a voice recording. That night, I hardly slept. Every sound felt like a warning. But I wasn't backing down. Next day, it rained. I walked the trench, took photos, measured everything. The utility shed near the clubhouse was unlocked inside a jumble of illegal inverters and a hand-drawn map matching the path I'd traced. Pulled up LLC records, found Ridge Systems was actually RSM Holdings LLC, registered under Karen's brother, Kevin. They'd billed the HOA $38,000 last quarter for emergency grid enhancements, just theft dressed as infrastructure. I sent all of it to Greg, called him to confirm. That's exactly what we needed, Paul. Stay close to your phone. That afternoon, the HOA emailed legal action, imminent $500 fine attached. They were desperate. Angela from City Planning finally got me the permit records, no electrical permits at all, just a tree trimming event that never happened. They'd never even tried to fake the paperwork. Then Tom called, check your front yard. There was a red flag staked in my grass. This residence is under review for ongoing violations. Do not engage. They were trying to isolate me, but I'd survived worse than paper tigers. I snapped a photo, burned the flag in my backyard, and went to bed ready for anything. At 2:37 a.m., the smoke alarm blared. I bolted up, grabbed the extinguisher, and found Ethan stumbling out, coughing. Outside the transformer by my fence glowed orange sparks everywhere. The trench had collapsed, rainwater soaking the illegal wiring. It was shorting out, frying from the inside. I blasted the fire with the extinguisher, called 911, called Greg. The fire department confirmed it, an electrical fire in the utility corridor. We were lucky it hadn't hit the gas line. Then the police showed up. Then a black SUV, Greg in a DOE windbreaker. It's time, he said. I showed him everything. By sunrise, more federal agents arrived, no sirens, just business. Neighbors peeked out as agents swept the clubhouse, cataloging every wire, every scrap of evidence. Tricia showed up in pearls, demanding answers. Greg didn't flinch. We're executing an emergency inspection and seizure under federal law. Karen Rowley arrived next, trying to bluff her way past the agents. One of them held up my folder. Care to explain these? Karen's mask cracked. She turned to me. You did this? No, I said you did. I just refused to stay quiet. Soon Karen, another board member, and the operations coordinator were in handcuffs. Phones came out. Nobody believed the misunderstanding line anymore. Greg and his team audited every cable, every server. The clubhouse, once the board's fortress, looked like a crime scene, because it was. That evening, Julia Sorrell, former city council, showed up with her team official audit HOA accounts, frozen residents told not to pay a cent. Suddenly, folks who'd been afraid walked up my driveway to thank me. Even the city council wanted my help drafting new protections. I kept telling them I'm no politician, but I guess once you fight for something real, people want you to lead. Turns out Ridge Systems had been pulling the same scheme in another neighborhood. Karen and her brother had been at this a while. Julia's team found their playbook. If Landon continues interference, consider strategic enforcement. Increase fines, limit emails, all out in the open now. The day after the raid, the silence in Cedar Ridge Estates felt different. Nobody ducking behind hedges, no more whispers. The city posted the audit results, $126,000 in unaccounted expenditures, at least 4 fake contractor accounts, over 23 homes siphoned for power. Karen, Kevin, and David indicted. Tricia stepped down in shame. The clubhouse stayed sealed, federal notice on the door. Neighbors started gathering again. Tom organized a potluck. Marcy brought lemon bars. Kids rode bikes around the cul-de-sac like nothing bad had ever happened. People handed me old HOA newsletters, flash drives with office memos. You saved us, one woman whispered. No, I said, I just didn't back down. You showed us how. That week, City Council held a town hall in our neighborhood. Julia gestured for me to speak. I didn't start this to fight, I told the crowd, but when people in power want silence, it's never to protect you, it's to protect themselves. The crowd clapped, not wild but real. Julia handed me a petition, enough signatures to recall the board and restructure from scratch. "You want me to lead?" I asked. She grinned. "I want you to protect." I agreed, but only until someone better came along. That's how change starts. 2 months later, the HOA was gone. The residents elected an oversight committee. No more secrets, no more shadows. I became infrastructure liaison, walking the trenches, checking lines, making sure nobody could ever pull a stunt like that again. My son Ethan started sleeping with the lights off again. That was the real victory. Sometimes at night I'd find old violation letters and laugh, left one on the new bulletin board. Never again. Folks added their own old fines, photos of the broken camera, a printout of the audit summary. It became a warning, not just a memory. And when Greg visited again, we sat on the porch with tin mugs. "Did you ever think something this small could mean something that big?" he asked. I nodded. The grid's only as strong as its quietest connection. Later, Ethan asked me if the lights would stay on forever now. "No, son. They'll go out sometimes. But now we know how to turn them back on, and nobody can take that from us again." So yeah, that's my story. About a blackout, a trench, and how one stubborn neighbor refusing to shut up helped turn the lights back on for everyone. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Ever fought back when the folks in charge tried to silence you? Let me know down in the comments. And if you believe in real justice, not just in courtrooms, but in your own backyard, share your story. We need more lights turned on.